Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Poly plus Amor equals us. First, I want to say thank you to everyone for all the birthday wishes last week. It was so wonderful. The day of my birthday, I just spent the day hanging out with my parents, and then when Mike got off work, we went out to dinner, all of us together, and it was really nice because I hadn't spent physical time with my parents since Christmas. So that was really good. But yeah, so thank you to everyone who sent me birthday wishes. It definitely made my birthday feel extra special. But this week we are actually heading to Mexico, woohoo, for my birthday. So that's like the big celebration that we are doing, and we're so looking forward to it. We leave in just a few days, so we will be spending the next, couple of days in Mexico on the beach in the sunshine. Ugh, I cannot wait. It's going to be so wonderful. And then when we get back on a Monday, and then Tuesday is our next live chat. So get ready. A week and one day from today is our live chat. So it's going to be Tuesday, April 6th at 7 o'clock p.m. And this live chat will be video. So I have figured out the platform. We are all set to go. So when you join, you will be able to see Mike and I on video. We won't be able to see you, but you'll at least be able to see us and ask us questions, just like last time. Anything you want to know about our relationship, about how we decided to become polyamorous, anything, from maybe past episodes that you've listened to and you have questions about, or anything you want us to dig into deeper. Or maybe you're, embarking on this journey as well and you're still new to it and you have some questions about how to navigate, opening up a relationship or becoming polyamorous within your own life and your own relationship. And you can ask us questions about that as well. And anything you want. Like, seriously, nothing is off limits. Mike and I are totally open books for all of this. And it's also really fun to get to know you guys. Last time we did a live chat, I feel like there were a few people that, really, I got to know more about their lives. And then we connected on Instagram even further. And it's been really great. So please, join this live chat. We would love to hear from you guys. We would love to answer any questions that you have. So again, that's Tuesday, April 6th at 7 o'clock p.m. That is when our next live chat is. All right. So this week's episode is really all about Mike. He just wants to set the record straight about everything because in the past couple of months, he's just felt really just surprised at the reaction that a lot of people had towards just him saying, letting people know that he's polyamorous, and he was a little bit shocked at the response, but he realized why. So anyway, let's get into the episode because he explains it much better than I do. So here we go. Let's dive right in. Hello, and welcome to another episode. This episode is going to be mostly all from Mike. So let's kick it off.
Yeah, so I guess what really prompted this episode is that I kind of felt like I hadn't really been fully open with my true beliefs with my friends and my family. And so I'm kind of realizing that I think it took a lot of them by surprise when Elisa and I told them, or they realized that we were polyamorous. And so what I really wanted to do was just tell my side of the story, kind of set the story straight from my point of view.
Set the record straight.
Yeah, just set the record straight. Exactly. Just because I feel like, you know, a lot of friends and family just kind of have the wrong impression about why we're doing what we're doing. And so I guess let me just start with how it kind of gradually progressed. So as Elisa started telling some of our friends, and as I started also telling some more of our friends, kind of a general trends occurred. And so typically what would happen is, you know, we'd bring it up, and a lot of our friends or even family would be like, oh, like, you know, obviously Elisa really wants this because she's talking about it all the time, but do you really want this, Mike?
Well, but I should say, most of these conversations were happening when I wasn't around.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like every time you would like talk to a friend or a friend would bring it up, I was never around. It was just you and your friend or friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was never, I was never around. So this was a private conversation between Mike and his friend or friends.
Yeah, that's important background context because
Yeah.
so yeah, it was usually just me talking to a family member or a friend, and so whenever I'd bring this up, one of the first questions usually was like, "Oh, like I'm surprised, but you know, I'm kind of not surprised that Elisa wants that, but I'm surprised that you want that, Mike." Um, just because I've never really openly talked about this or even kind of expressed the idea that I'd even want to be polyamorous or do this. And so I was never really in their heads. And understandably so. I mean, if you don't tell someone what you're believing, they're just going to assume that you want kind of what's normal or common, which would be in this case a monogamous marriage. So at first it was kind of just whatever, you know, it was kind of just like, okay, like, you know, this person's just concerned and like they really want to know, you know, if this is what I want. But then as I talked to more and more friends, you know, they kept asking the same question over and over again, pretty much implying like, is this like, is this truly what you want to do, or is this really what Elisa wants to do, and is she pushing you in this direction? Um, it was almost like maybe not so much pushing, even just like, I don't know, is she the one that's really like, I don't want to say pushing or forcing. Those aren't really the right words.
Yeah, I think forcing is the right word.
Yeah, maybe not quite that forceful.
I think
But
I think that's what they were implying.
I guess I should say, is Elisa like convincing you that this is what you want?
Yeah. Which, by the way, it's like, how can I convince him of something that he wants? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not like a magician, you guys. I'm not like a wizard where I'm like, perform a spell on you, and now, you know, it's not how this works.
Yeah, I mean, you do exercise some forms of mind control every now and then, but usually not that powerful.
Not that powerful. I'm not that good at it yet.
Yeah. Maybe one day. But yeah, so as you know, as the same question kept occurring and kept coming up, like, is this truly what you want? I was getting a little frustrating and a little insulting at times, like, you know, pretty much implying like, you know, this is obviously what Elisa wants, and is she convincing you to do this? And I guess partly, you know, part of that is my fault. I think a good chunk of that is actually my fault for never having been like fully open and expressive with what I want, or like what I'm open to, even if I don't, you know, I don't like want it right this instant, but just that's just something I haven't really been great at all my life. It's just fully expressing my beliefs, and that's a big reason why I want to do this podcast too. So yeah, ultimately, what I want to say is that, you know, I've been open to being polyamorous ever since I first heard about it, which was for me, when was that? Like in my mid 20s, to say like 24, 25. I've always been open to that idea. I've just never fully, I don't know, pursued it until, you know, Elisa, kind of the more fiery, the more direct one.
Yeah.
Kind of just, you know, decided that's what she wanted, and then just also seeing how passionate she was about it, but also just like realizing this is also what I wanted too. I was like, okay, yeah, like, I want this, like, I want us to be happy together, and I think this will make us happy. So, I'm totally like, I've been open to this idea, and like, I'm ready to like pursue it. So even though I wasn't the one to initiate it or the one to like, yeah, just like, spearhead the poly movement,
Yeah.
it's not like I never thought of this before.
Yeah. So, like, yes, I was the one who sort of suggested that we do this, but yeah, it had already been on your radar. Polyamory had already been something that he had been thinking about. And also this happened while we were dating. And we talked about it, and so it's like we had the opportunity to end our relationship if that's what we had wanted, and I had said that. I was like if you don't want to be, if you don't want to open up this relationship and be polyamorous, then this isn't going to work. And so it's not like we both had the opportunity to end it,
Yeah.
but we decided not to. So there was a time
Yeah.
when it could have happened, and if that's what you wanted, that's what would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I really wanted to have a monogamous marriage and I really wanted, to also have kids, then, I probably would not have stayed with you.
Yeah.
But that's what I decided I wanted along our, along the time we were dating and even a little before that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like it's tough because like I'm very respectful and like I appreciate that my friends are and family are concerned enough to like be like, is this what you truly want?
Yeah, of course they
But
care.
yeah, it shows that they care. And then, but on the flip side, it's like there are sometimes it's said in a certain way, or it's it just seems to be implied that like is this like really what you want, or is this what Elisa wants? So
Yeah, that I'm either forcing you, or that you're just like a pushover and going along with whatever it is that I say and not standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
Which is not the case.
Yeah, it's just because you're not the one to like initiate or like lead, a movement or like a decision doesn't mean like you're just passively following.
Yeah.
Like, and also to get to this point, like it's been years, like of growth in our relationship to get to this point. It's not like it just happened overnight.
Yeah.
And like you decided on a whim that you wanted to be polyamorous, and I was like, oh my god, like I have to be polyamorous if I want to stay with Elisa. Like,
yeah,
like this has been such like a growth up to this point. So it's, it's nothing like new or shocking.
Well,
maybe for our friends and family who didn't fully know what was going on.
Exactly.
So,
and I think that's part of it too, because like you said, this has been years in the making. But for our friends and family, a lot of them have just found out recently, like in the last 6 months or so, 6 months to a year. And so to them, it's new, but to us, it's already been years. So I think that's part of it too, is that they are trying to catch up, and they didn't see every step of the way of all of the growth and the hard times that we went through to get to this point. They didn't really witness that. They didn't know that that was happening. And so I think, yeah, for them, it seems like it was overnight, but it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because really, I mean, it's been, the reality is a lot more complex than I think a lot of people initially think it is.
Yeah.
The whole development of us being polyamorous, and with my close friends and family, that's partly my fault for not informing them of what was going on in detail all the time. I mean, they knew some things, but not everything. And so I think they just didn't fully understand or, appreciate the complexity and like our growth to this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, like I feel like a lot of people have also, on the flip side again, I guess this is kind of
yeah,
seeing both sides of the story.
Yeah.
So they, I think some of my friends and family, and I think this is common for everybody, you kind of just project your own beliefs about what you want onto the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh my god, like this person's polyamorous. Like I would never do that. Like I'd want to be monogamous. Like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because like if I were in your shoes, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so instead of like, I guess instead of, I don't think there was really ever like any direct judgment on our friends or family part. But I guess sometimes there wasn't enough like curiosity or questioning about like what was really going on
Mm-hmm.
from my brother and like from some of my other friends. Like they were like surprised, but they were also curious. Like, oh, like, like tell me more about that. Like how did you guys get to that point? Like, they were asking more questions, and other times it was just kind of like, are you sure this is what you really want? So yeah, I guess the responses varied, but yeah, it's just interesting to think back on, I don't know, maybe the 7 to 10 conversations with friends and family I've had, and just kind of seeing how they've responded to us, I guess, coming out as polyamorous.
Yeah.
So it's just been interesting to reflect on.
Yeah.
So I guess ultimately what I'm trying to say is like, there's some things that I want to work on in terms of, expressing myself more fully and completely so my friends and family do understand me.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, like, yeah, you're also going to get a mixed bag of responses from people based on what their beliefs are.
Yeah.
And, how open they are to kind of an uncommon and a new form of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Just how curious they are in general. So it's been interesting. It's almost like a little social experiment in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, and also it's like for me, I didn't really experience this. When I told my parents, they were like, okay, okay, my mom was like, okay, that's a little weird, but like whatever, if that's what you want to do, great. And she was like super supportive and asking questions and wanting to know how it's going and all that kind of stuff. She was like, I would never choose that, but if that's what's going to make you happy, great.
Yeah,
And
she still thought it was weird.
yeah, she still thought it was.
She's like, it's weird.
It's
but
weird, but yeah. And I think it was also just her trying to wrap her mind around it.
Yeah.
But then my dad, it's so funny. My dad is in his 70s, and he was like, okay, like obviously it's not something he would ever choose either. But he was like, this isn't new. This idea of polyamory isn't new. It's not like, you guys are the first ones to do this. He's like, it's been around for a while and it's worked for people. Yeah. So if that's what you want, then great.
Yeah.
And that's my 70-year-old dad, So like for me, these conversations were really easy. And telling like my two best friends, I was telling them everything that was happening like as it was happening. And so I didn't have to experience this with like close friends. Now when I meet people and I tell them like, oh yeah, I'm polyamorous, they're like, oh, cool, tell me more. But like they're just like new people in my life, so I don't really care what they think or if they, accept it or not, because it's just like some new person I've met. But I haven't had that experience that you have had of like telling your good friends and having like pushback or having your choices be questioned. I haven't experienced that.
Yeah, but you've also been more open with your friends, as you were saying. You're talking to them as things are unfolding.
Yeah.
Also, it's interesting because your dad apparently is familiar with polyamory and had heard about it or come across it at some point. So
yeah, well, I think
that's
also
a big part too.
It was bigger in the 70s. There was like a wave in the 70s of like polyamory being, like a big thing, or at least open relationships and stuff like that. And so my dad was like in his late 20s, early 30s, I think, in like the 70s. Yeah, he was in like his 30s in the 70s. So like he was familiar with it and he was around that.
Yeah, maybe he had friends or just, I don't know, colleagues.
Yeah.
Who were polyamorous.
I can remember he told us this story which it's really funny about like going to this park in Long Beach. I can't remember exactly which park, but I think it was in college, and he was a runner, and he would run cross country, and he would go to this park to run, and he said that the girls would sit in a circle, but like with their backs to each other, wearing skirts, and then the guys would like stand in a circle, like and walk around them, and they would like lift up their skirts, and then the guys would like choose who they wanted, and they would like I don't know if they would have like sex there or what, but like
Okay.
right? Like
I never heard that
you
before.
understand where I'm going with this, but like like that was a thing, and like my dad would see that, and so like
They did
and
that
well, and like
at a park?
yeah, and like the hippies in the 70s with like free love and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like the this isn't anything new, It's been around, and there have been certain times in history when it's been more popular.
That's
So
just, for some reason, I just think like that's like the sex version of Duck Duck Goose or something.
it kind of is. Like
That's what I was picturing in my head when you were telling that story.
duck, goose. Yeah, I guess so.
that's, that's interesting. I never heard you or your dad say that before.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like,
I can't remember him when he told me
Or
that
like-
story, but
or that was like, I don't know,
that was a thing apparently.
the original. Oh, why am I blanking? Tinder. It was like,
Oh, right. Go to this park at this time, and you'll
Yeah.
meet all of
the real life version of Tinder.
Yeah. But anyway, back to what we were saying. So my dad was more open to it.
Yeah,
This idea, even though he's
Yeah.
he's older.
he had seen things.
Yeah, he's seen things. Yeah. But where were you going? Sorry, you were going somewhere with
I mean,
that.
I was. Oh no, I was pretty much done with what I was saying. But all I was saying was that some people who have exposure or just have seen or heard about polyamory before. It's not so like crazy and shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I do think part of the reason, like, since I was telling my friends about everything that was happening as it was happening, maybe it was easier for them to digest. But also, I don't know, like it just depends on person to person, because I feel like if I just like sprung this on them, they'd be like, okay, like, because I feel like they're both like super open-minded and open to
Yeah,
and like, I mean, maybe they wouldn't necessarily choose it. Well, actually, we spoke in the last episode about one of my friends who is like sort of open to it, but the other one, she definitely doesn't want to be polyamorous or anything, but she's still like open and accepting, and she's like, if that's what you want, then cool. Like, we don't all have to want something to be accepting of it. But so it's different for every person, and not everybody is quite as open-minded and accepting. And I think that's kind of what you've been running into.
Yeah, it's different beliefs and different responses from all different types of people.
Yeah.
I guess fortunately though, even though some have maybe kind of jumped to the conclusion that you were like swaying me to do this.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, everyone's been understanding and supportive in the end, so I've appreciated that, and I have felt that love. So
Yeah.
all in all, it's been fine. No one's been like, oh my god, like, I can't believe you're doing that, like, you're no longer my friend or something like that.
Yeah.
There's
Of
no
course.
extreme reactions like that, but
Yeah.
so it's been interesting though, and I've definitely learned some lessons
Mm-hmm.
about how I want to just be more open and be more expressive with my beliefs that are going on. I don't have to keep those like bottled up and like wait to express them until like I have them figured out. It's like,
Yeah. Sometimes talking about them is the best way to figure them out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes you just need that like soundboard. You need to talk to somebody else and get it out of your head, so that way you can sort of
yeah,
hear it. And as you start talking and explaining, it sometimes, makes more sense to you.
yeah, yeah. That's very true.
Hmm.
So like as guys when you're younger, we just like deal with those emotions in different ways.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know, wrestle or I don't know, play football or do something active, play video games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just
Yeah.
it
And
wasn't
so,
it wasn't a common thing for me to do.
yeah, like talking
And I'm
about your
realizing now
actual
that
feelings.
yeah, I'm realizing now that like there are a lot of benefits to it. There's a lot of like I don't know. There's a lot of like fleshing out and like just understanding of yourself that you can have.
Yeah.
For some reason, I always felt like part of it is like I always felt like I just had to have it figured out first,
Before
which
you
is
could talk
probably
about
pretty
it.
common. Yeah, even like with some of my work, I'm like I don't want to show anyone my work until like I'm done, and so it's like I feel like I've like done enough iterations where I feel like it's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that same thing. It's like, but at the end of the day, it's like you're just scared of looking bad and like revealing what you have up to that point.
Yeah.
It's kind of I guess it's a perfectionist thing almost.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that also came through with my beliefs and wanting to wait until like I figure things out to express them, and now I'm realizing like that's there's kind of no I don't know I guess I'm not really seeing a point now unless you're trying to like paint this perfect picture, which like nobody's perfect, so like what's the point?
Yeah.
Like yeah, just express your human side,
Yeah.
express your flaws. And
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of
exactly.
people, that I feel like that also just makes you more relatable, and it also just like makes you who you are. You're
Yeah.
not trying to like be this like perfect robot of a person. So, it's been
Uh,
interesting. It's for
yeah.
me. It's been interesting.
Yeah, I
Some
think
revelations for sure.
yeah, I think what you said about, you're not trying to come off as this perfect person, like, and that's part of it too. I think if you can get past that fear of expressing how you're feeling or what you're thinking before you have it all figured out, people can also help,
Hmm.
right? And so if you're struggling with something but you don't say it or express it,
Yeah,
then nobody can help you,
yeah,
right? Because nobody knows that that's what you're thinking about or struggling with or whatever. And so that's part of it too. Like just saying what you're thinking or feeling, even if you don't have it all figured out, because maybe somebody else has been there and has experienced it or felt it, and then they can help you. And then you don't have to go through such a long period of like wrestling with this thing or trying to figure this thing out. It like speeds up the process, right? It's kind of like when you don't know how to do something at work, you like find an article that will explain it, right? You find like an expert or someone who can tell you how to do it.
yeah,
But that's like what you have to do with your feelings too, or whatever it is. Like when you're trying to figure it out, sometimes you could talk to an expert or just like a friend, right? Someone who has been through it,
yeah,
because now if they have gone through it, then they are, I guess you could say like an expert, but you know what I mean? Like, not an expert, but
yeah.
yeah,
No, yeah, just someone who has that experience
yeah,
that you're also trying to gain.
yeah,
That's also just been something I've been bad at too. I'm very stubborn, and I guess also I don't really like to think of myself as like too prideful, but I guess I am pretty prideful and I don't know, just wanting to learn things on my own.
mm-hmm.
I feel like, yeah, I mean that's also just something I need to work on. It's been great. I have like done a lot and learned a lot on my own, but at times it's taken me a lot longer and been a lot more stressful than it probably could have been.
Yeah, yeah. Then if you had just like asked for help,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been It's been a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Some good, some bad.
So, what do you think was the hardest part, or like the hardest, like, conversation you've had to have, or just like what was like the hardest question or the hardest thing you had to like clarify through
Well,
all of this? Like, what do you?
yeah. So I guess the hardest conversation I've had was just with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I hadn't directly asked her what her thoughts were on it,
Mm-hmm.
and after talking to her, she was also telling me that she was like kind of postponing talking to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that she had. And I'm glad I did talk to her because we hashed quite a few things out. But she'd come to the conclusion that Elisa was the one that like really like pushed this, and she was thinking that like I didn't really want to do this, and she was such like a loving, protective, like just like the ultimate mother, and she kind of went into like protective mom mode.
Mm-hmm.
But she'd also like, because I wasn't telling her what was going on, she kind of created a false narrative, I think,
Yeah.
or maybe not a completely accurate narrative,
Yeah.
and kind of painted Elisa as the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad we talked about it, and like it was a good conversation because she was explaining her beliefs, and I was explaining what had really happened and why I decided to do this, why
Yeah.
we had decided to do this, but ultimately like why I wanted to do it too, because that's what her real concern was. Do you really want to do this?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that was not only like she didn't imply that like is this what you want to do. She like was like I don't think this is what you want to do essentially.
Yeah.
Like so that was actually the hardest conversation I have had
Yeah.
because my mom was pretty. She just she just wasn't aware of what was really going on.
Yeah.
So we both cleared up things on our ends.
Yeah. So because she didn't have all of the information, she sort of filled in the gaps with her own beliefs and thoughts and sort of her own assumptions.
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
Some things were accurate, and yeah, some things weren't, just because
Yeah.
she just didn't know.
Yeah.
And there's still some things I want to talk to her about, like the timeline of how things have progressed, because I don't think she may not fully remember or just know, like how things have progressed up to this point. So I just want to like remind her, like, here's how we got to this point. Like this happened in 2017. This happened in 2018. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I guess some people some people are really good at this. I just haven't been, and I'm realizing like, especially now, like this has kind of been like the trigger to this whole polyamory topic and just bringing it up with friends and family. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is something I really need to work on because it's now causing a problem that I have not been clear and had brought these things up as they're happening, or at least soon after they happen.
Yeah.
So
So do you think if you had been talking to your friends and to your mom sort of about what was happening with our relationship as it was happening, do you think then these conversations would have been different or easier?
yeah, I think now they would have been easier. The hard one would have been the cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really didn't feel comfortable talking to many people about that.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted us to figure it out first,
Of course.
and then later on, bring it up.
Yeah. Well, also, like, this is our relationship. So, what we do and what we decide is really nobody else's business. But, like, obviously now we are sharing it with people. But at the time, so it's like,
I guess there were some things I wanted to share more in detail,
yeah.
but cheating not so much. Maybe I probably should have brought that up at some point. Maybe I don't know, a couple months to I don't know, maybe up to 6 months after it happened. Just talk about it. Just be like, this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where we are now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I don't know, just bringing this stuff up, like especially something like that serious up, unless you really do need like help or clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't want to have to like constantly be defending myself and my decisions and defending you, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is just gonna be like such a headache. So I think ultimately that was one of the main reason why I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
But like the decision to be polyamorous, I really had no reason not to bring that up. I
Yeah.
just didn't do it because it it felt kind of uncomfortable or different.
Yeah. It's a little
So
scary.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say scary. I never felt like, oh my god, like I'm gonna say this to someone. It's more
Well,
just like this might end up being a little awkward.
yeah.
So it was just like that. I should have brought up sooner
Yeah.
because that would have, I feel like, cleared up a lot of the issues we're having now.
Yeah.
Because then there wouldn't have been all this time to like fill in these like narratives or create these narratives that just weren't true.
Mm-hmm.
Could have set the story straight from the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else? Anything else we need to say?
I've said my full story. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Okay. So just set the record straight. Just give us all the bullet points. Sum it all up.
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I felt like. Oh.
Yeah. It's called this whole thing is about you setting the record straight.
Well,
so just like
I mean, yeah, I feel like I just did that. Well, I guess I'll just get to the main point at the end. It's like, this is what I want to do. The little time period we had where we were both being polyamorous and pursuing dating, I was happy. I enjoyed it, and I want to continue that once, COVID's over and things somewhat return back to normal and dating somewhat returns back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, this is what I want to do, and if I'm excited and looking forward to doing this, obviously I want to do it. If I didn't want to do it, it would have been a drag, and I wouldn't be talking about this right now. So,
yeah.
like ultimately, like this is what I want to do, and we've come quite a long way to get to this point. So I really have no regrets or doubts or like hesitations right now that this is right for us and this is what we want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm ready.
See, there you go. You set the record straight. You tell him. All right, that is it. Mike cleared the air. He set the record straight. And we're both feeling a lot better. So, as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever app you are listening on, whether it's Apple or Google or Spotify. Please subscribe if you have been enjoying our show. It really helps us with our reach. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me on Instagram at _Elisa.Janelle. And if you have any questions for Mike too, please reach out to me. And of course, I will, send those questions over to Mike and he will respond to you. Or you can email us at poly+amor=us, the letter 8, or the number. I do that every time. The number 8. So poly+amor=us 8@gmail.com. You can email us there any questions that you have, and we will respond. Okay, that's it for this week. We're going to go enjoy our vacation, and we will see you next week for our live chat. Tuesday, April 6th, 7 o'clock p.m. We will see you there.